back, everyone, to another episode of Heard About It. We are live, but not really.
Yeah, let's try that again because I was talking.
Opposite definition of live. It's fine.
We love our harsh cold opens.
Now, starting. No, I'm kidding.
I hope you know this has been
This has been the best intro we've ever done.
Of course. I may be sounding a little hoarse today. I'm got some allergies going around. Chest. At least I think it's allergies. Hopefully it's allergies. Hopefully I'm not dying. One of my friends diagnosed me with dry drowning. So that was
dry drowning.
Yeah, which is.
I think that's like happens to people with like blood in their system.
No,
right?
it's a late reaction to getting too much water in your lungs, and it just kind of like fills up, like after swimming or something. But,
well, that's a dark way to open this episode.
Yeah, so that is what's.
We should mention, and you didn't hear it already. Kieran is in the studio with us again. Say hi, Kieran.
I'm fake Jason, by the way.
Sorry, fake Jason.
Our bad.
Rest in peace, Jason.
And we are officially back to weekly.
Look at that consistency.
Schedules.
You said it wasn't going to happen, you two, and it happened.
Yeah.
And every other platform we're on.
Obviously we're 2 weeks since the last one, but from now on is weekly every week.
All right.
On Tuesday morning at 7.
Well, this has been a long intro, and I think y'all are craving that content and that discussion, and so we're going to give it to you. So Kieran, why don't you kick us off with our big discussion point today?
Yeah, today's not a very happy day between the intro and our first topic.
No.
So today we're going to be talking about the fall of the Blockbuster movie.
Yes.
But is that a sad thing?
Is that a sad thing?
I would say
that's what begs the
or
question.
not. That's what we're here to discuss.
Yeah.
You know, there's been a lot of blunders at the box office recently. You know, I think Fall Guy was the latest one, didn't perform as well as projected. There's a lot of these big budget Hollywood films that people just aren't turning out for at movie theaters anymore.
And then you also see like the most random indie movie, like Everything Everywhere All at Once, just absolutely blow up and make so much money.
Or you'll see these, and you know, there's been talk of, is Hollywood going to move more to this middle budget program where they kind of focus on smaller projects that actually get people more excited. We've talked a little bit about this on the podcast a little bit when we talk about film. I think I said it earlier. One thing that Hollywood, I feel like we're realizing is that, you know, you have to get people excited and have to like buy into the idea of going to the theater with something like Barbenheimer, which I think was very much an outlier among all of this. But no, I do think it is sad in a certain way, you know, because I enjoy like big budget blockbusters when they're done well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they are. I mean, I'm trying to think of an example. I know I never watched it because I was never interested, but would you consider the new Avatar to be a blockbuster? I think that did pretty well.
Like that's a big budget giant. Yeah. And then, or, you know, like perfect example, a Christopher Nolan film, like an Inception or an Interstellar, like those are big budget, these blockbuster, very spectacle films, but they're very enjoyable. And, you know, Christopher Nolan actually has gone on record saying recently, he's like, yeah, I'm going to keep making big budget blockbuster films. I'm the only person I feel I can trust with the budgets.
That's very true.
Which is very true. But no, it is interesting when you look at, okay, what is going to help a film succeed? Because, you know, I look at a film like Monkey Man, which I don't think had a really big budget.
Probably not.
I mean, it's one of those kind of smaller action films that was more focused on kind of practical stuff. You know, you don't have a lot going on. And I think it broke its budget very well. Because at the end of the day, what you have to remember is that movie making is a business. And this is something I talk with my dad with all the time, is we love kind of obsessing over the minutia of what was this film's budget and what was its return. You know, because it can be, it could have grossed 15 million if the budget was 5 million. That's great. You know, like giant box office wins aren't always, you know, what you need as long as the budget is small. Yeah.
I mean, take for example, I always love to bring this up because it's one of my favorites, the FNAF movie.
Yeah.
It was a budget of like 10 million, I think, and it made 300 million its opening weekend.
Yeah. That's incredible. And there's also, and also I think Hollywood is going to get smart about when they need to put the big budget on it. And this is a perfect example. You know, Mario movie, it was $100 million for that animated movie. I mean, that's not as big as other like live action films, obviously, but for animated films,
that's a lot.
That's a lot. But I think they were willing to put it in because they were like, hey, this is gonna crush the box office. And it did. And they were right, because it, you know, they got a return of $900 million with that film. And, you know, so, but, you know, I just think they're gonna have to start being more careful. And I will say this. This point is so important. I need to take a sip of my drink.
My cup's empty. I never even fill it. You see me rolling around on the table.
Just throw it at the camera. No. What I was going to say, though, was I think that you can do great things with the smallest budget ever. Like, big budget is not necessary for a good film, or not, let alone an incredible film. And I point to it. It came out a few years ago, or 2 years ago. It's been around for a while, just came to streaming. I wholly recommend it if I haven't mentioned it yet on this podcast. I don't think I have because of the break. Hundreds of Beavers.
What?
It's a movie. Have I not told you about this film?
No.
Okay, so this is an indie film. No dialogue, basically. It's filmed in black and white. I think it had a budget of less than $1 million. Like, it was like a few $100,000. It was one of the funniest films I've seen in a long time. Absolutely hilarious. And now, I will say, they used the low budget to their advantage for the source of the comedy in a very Monty Python Holy Grail-esque way. So, in a way, I think that's a little different because they used the low budget and actually they benefited from the low budget.
Yeah.
But either way, you know, these guys had an idea. They had a script. They didn't have really any money for it. And they still went out and made something great.
Yes.
And I feel like that's something that Hollywood needs to recognize, is that at the end of the day, you could throw as much money as you can at a project. It has to be good. And I don't think that's the problem. I'm just saying that's what's exciting. But it is sad to see a movie like The Fall Guy, which I heard was just a phenomenal action comedy. Which
was it good?
I heard it was great. I heard it was like a solid, fun action movie, but I don't think a lot of people were going out to see it.
Yeah.
And I think really it's because of, you know, what we've talked about. It's this obsession, I feel like, and it's the audience fault of the IP and the, you know, it's why I think Deadpool and Wolverine is going to be the biggest.
Probably the biggest movie.
Probably going to be the biggest movie of 2024 because
what else is released this year? What have we had?
Garfield movie, but I've heard that was. But
Fall Guy, Garfield, Deadpool.
There's a lot of great films coming out this year, but that one, because you're getting an already well-established IP that people love, combined with an older IP and character that people have loved for years. Like, that's going to crush it, regardless, I think, of the quality of the film.
And it kind of goes to show what you were talking about, because 2024 has been the first year in, I think, a decade. Did you say this last? I think my dad told me this, but in a decade where they haven't released a movie in quarter one.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
10 years.
There was no big
Marvel movie.
Oh, from Marvel.
From Marvel. Sorry.
Oh,
that's
okay.
What that's what
First time in a decade they haven't released. Yeah, that's crazy. Which,
crazy?
Honestly, I think is good for them after the massive push
of the multiverse. Or whatever.
They hopefully do a strong repivot from kind of, if I'm doing this analogy correctly, a strong pivot off the back foot that is Deadpool and Wolverine. Does that analogy make sense?
Yes.
Do I need to do that analogy? No. Do I like that image in my head? Yes. I think it's kind of cool. What do you think of it, Kieran?
I thought it was great, Walker.
Thanks, Kieran.
Have you seen Deadpool, Kieran?
Have you seen Deadpool?
I told you, I don't see any movies.
But like you're
That's
aware
right
of
up his alley.
But like you would love that,
Deadpool
Kieran.
is right up his alley.
I feel like I would.
But you know of it, and like,
of course, yeah.
And so like you understand how big of a deal Deadpool and Wolverine is, kind of.
Is it like a kind of like a cross between? Is it basically
Deadpool's always,
Batman versus Superman, but in Marvel?
No, because Deadpool's always been kind of like in that same X-Men universe.
Deadpool's an X-Men, basically. Well, he's not on the X-Men team. He is in the X-Men universe. Yeah.
In X-Men First Class, Deadpool.
It's Origins Wolverine.
Origins Wolverine. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought that was wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Deadpool shows up at the end of the movie. I guess he's there throughout the entire.
That's a whole other thing. But no, basically, there's been a lot of like Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is a very beloved character, and we thought he was going to be done with that character after Logan. But now, like the fact that he's coming back for a Deadpool film is like insane. Okay. It's like a very big deal, and so people are going to show up for it, you know. And they've thrown a ton of money on it.
When did Logan come out?
Logan came 2017. It was between the first and second Deadpool.
Look that up.
Because they had it. That's the gag, you know. Deadpool 1 comes out, Logan comes out, and then he opens Deadpool 2 talking about Logan. And he's getting mad at the movie Logan.
Well, I actually haven't seen Deadpool 2, and I just saw the beginning of Deadpool 1. So.
But no, that's, I think, what we're looking at.
I saw the
Once Upon a
Deadpool,
the edit.
which is very different.
One fun fact about Logan, is it was actually released the day before the Nintendo Switch. So
look at that.
I looked it up. It was March 2nd. I was like, that seems awfully close.
Yeah.
And would you look at that? But anyways.
Sounds like it's raining outside now, so if y'all hear a little...
ambiance. But no, I think that really is a good... I mean, we're in a weird crossroads, I think, because I think it's a lot of things. I think it's obsession with IP. I think it was COVID. I think it was streaming. I think a combination of those things. People don't want to go to theaters anymore.
I think the one big thing we have to talk about.
I like going to movies, but even me, like there wasn't like.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Were you gonna say something?
That's what I was just gonna say. It's just like streaming. I feel like disrupted the movie market.
So much. And it's not even that. It's like I've talked about it on this podcast before, but the people making those things for explicitly only streaming, they're not getting like. They're barely getting any money, because how does something that automatically loses a company money is going to make them more?
Well, right? I mean, there is the question of, you know, were we going to lose money on putting this to theaters if we did all the distribution and marketing for it, if we brought theaters, as opposed to just getting some ad revenue from putting it on streaming? I don't know. Like, I don't know all the numbers. It seems like it would be a better bet to
do movies, actually,
to go to theaters and then try to make some more money when you get it to streaming. But I think some of them work, you know. Please Don't Destroy, the great comedy group on SNL, they were going to have a theatrical release. They moved their film to Peacock exclusive because I don't think that was a film a lot of people, I think they looked at the numbers and said, hey, I think this is a film I think that's a perfect film to throw on streaming. I think it was smart for them to move, regardless of the performance. I think it was very good that they moved Blue Beetle from streaming to theatrical.
Really?
That movie had no business being, because I mean that's the movie that needs to be seen in theaters. It's a superhero film. Like no one wants to watch that, you know. Like the fun of those films is, you know, at a certain point is seeing them in theaters. But no one is excited, I feel like. And I feel guilty of this.
Superhero burnout.
What?
Superhero burnout.
And not even burnout. It was just like, oh, Fall Guy. There was like, I wasn't thinking, oh, I have to go see Fall Guy in theaters. Even though I heard like it's amazing, you know?
Still.
But Deadpool and Wolverine, I'm like, oh, I have to see that in theaters just because it's Deadpool. You know, just because I like those movies so much and it's a franchise I trust.
Maybe they just have to make good content and we'll come see the theaters as well.
That's my point. Fall Guy is good content and I'm not wanting to go see it.
Guess I wasn't listening.
Dumb Money was good and I didn't want to go see. You know, there's just so many good movies. And I think...
Was Dumb Money good?
I actually still... I should say, I've heard it is really good.
Is that streaming only or was that...
They put it to theaters.
Really?
And it didn't do well, you know, because I think it wasn't that... Because of all the things we're talking about.
Like, that's another problem with the streaming is that if you don't make it explicitly clear in every trailer that it's going to be in theaters or not, you don't know where you're going to be able to watch it. You know? Well,
that's another great point. The fact that they're now making it a big deal that things are back in theaters is a sign that we're losing something.
Yeah.
With theaters,
and also another thing to point out is that I had a point. I forgot where I was going. It was something about streaming, obviously. I lost my point. Continue, Walker.
One thing though, I mean, you just see the theaters, but no, all those films, and I think you're seeing a shift also in theaters. I feel like movie theaters recently have been doing a lot of re-releases, like showing older films, bringing them back to theaters, having a lot of theaters done this recently? More recently?
Yes. Interstellar is actually getting re-released very soon. Where it might already have been.
Is that a $5 thing? AMC's been doing a lot of $5
AMC
things.
I'm not sure, but it's
I remember
for
my
IMAX.
point though.
Oh.
Crap. No, I remember.
Jackson.
Okay, no. Yeah,
Okay.
it's the fact that things are going to streaming services so quickly, even after theatrical releases. It's like, why go spend the $12 to go see it at a theater?
Yeah, there's
because like it's
I'll go see it on streaming.
I'll just see it streaming
It's
because it's going to
become
be
such a mindset.
it comes out in a month after versus it used to be like you had to wait a whole 5 months to release on disc. You know?
Yeah. My dad saw Empire Strikes Back, he claims 12 times in theaters.
Wow.
12 times came out. Because that was it. Like, I mean, you could get it on VHS.
Mm-hmm.
No one, his parents weren't spending that money. He didn't have the money. He was like 8. I don't know how old he was in 81.
Yeah.
Like, so he saw it 12 times. Because that was going to be, he didn't know the next time he was going to see it once it left theaters. Like, that's, like, that idea, I just feel like we can't comprehend that,
Yeah. There's so many versions of Star Wars. This is a side tangent, but I've been watching these videos talking about all the different versions of Star Wars, like the
the original trilogy.
You have like the theatrical release,
special edition, digital release. I think Disney Plus releases.
Disney Plus had a different version. Blu-ray edition. There's so many.
Have you seen the comparisons of the first Jabba scene?
Yeah, it's wild. It is wild.
Do you know about this, Kieran? Have you seen Star Wars 1?
I think I know what you're talking
Episode
about.
4.
It used to be a CG Jabba.
Well, no. It was they had Jabba,
Oh,
a
no,
deleted
no.
scene. It was a deleted scene of
prosthetic.
4. They had an actor play, like a Scottish actor play a human named Jabba, and that was going to be Jabba the Hutt.
No, I heard
and
that
then
wasn't.
Lucas was going to do prosthetics over it, he thought, and then just scrapped it. And then he brought that scene back for the 90s re-release and did a really bad CGI Jabba for that scene. And then some fans was like, that's stupid. Jabba Hutts can't like move on their own. So why is he moving around? So fans actually remade it into he's talking to a hologram of Jabba, which I think actually is cooler, because Jabba wouldn't actually
be there.
Wouldn't actually go. I feel like that's more Jabba's thing to not go and see him.
Yeah. There were later on. You had like Star Wars Rebels, where you saw that species can move around.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yeah. So
there's been. I feel like there's some conflicts with the Hutts because in Mandalorian, no, it was Boba Fett. You see, they get carried around like they can't move.
Yeah. I don't know. Disney. ruined it.
Yeah, Disney. That's
And
my
then
favorite excuse now for anything.
There was this
Disney.
other project that I saw that I thought it was recent, and then I looked at the date, and it was like a year ago that this person was doing. But basically, they were taking all of the Kenobi episodes, like making them into a singular movie that made sense.
cut.
And he was like an old, not retired, but he left Lucasfilm as a VFX artist. So he was like really good at redoing a lot of the shots, recoloring, adding new VFX to it.
That's really cool.
Filming his own scenes with his own prosthetics and stuff.
Oh.
Like adding very small things.
Yeah.
But like did so many cool things to make Kenobi make more sense. Changed like the thickness of the lightsaber to match with like the timeline and stuff. And it said like it was coming out in May of last year. Nobody has heard anything from it since because they think Disney gave him a
I really like
desist.
Kenobi. I actually really liked Obi-Wan Kenobi. I will say I'm going to make this case for Disney. They've been very, very consistent with their Star Wars content. I think they've been put out, except for the sequel trilogies. I think other than the sequel trilogy, like the shows apparently and the
Boba Fett.
releases, I think Boba Fett and the sequels are the only things you can ding them for. Rest
Even
of it,
Obi-Wan?
Obi-Wan was
He
good.
liked-
I liked Obi-Wan.
That's surprising.
What's Ahsoka?
I heard
good?
Ahsoka was. I
didn't
heard
watch
Clone
it.
Wars fans loved Ahsoka.
I think the best shows is Clone Wars, Rebels, Bad Batch.
Don't forget Andor.
And
Andor was
Andor was
And Andor, I
pretty
heard.
good.
a surprising
I still,
shit
I'm
show.
very behind on the Star
Me
Wars
too.
shows.
I
I
don't
watch
even
them.
have Disney Plus. I just kind of give
I
it
feel
up.
like the problem with all the Star Wars series is a bunch of fans watched the first ones and then they got to like Mandalorian season 2, Book of Boba Fett, and they just didn't care to watch the rest because they were so bad. Like that's
I was
what
never
I
really a
stopped
big
it-
fan of Mandalorian.
I saw both. I loved season 1 and 2 of Mandalorian. I thought
like
it was really
at
cool.
first I was like, yeah, this is cool, but then I started thinking about it more, and I'm like, there wouldn't be like it's called The Mandalorian. Make it be about the Mandalorian. Don't make it be about stupid baby Yoda who's just there for marketing purposes.
I guess. Okay, I'd actually argue. John
Thunder.
Favreau has gone on statement and said he had no idea what Baby Yoda was going to happen. I'm sure they were more like, let's make Baby Yoda more of a Baby Yoda thing in season 2. But I think they filmed season 1 just filming it, and then out of nowhere they were like, wait, why is everyone obsessed with this guy? And then he became this marketing scheme. But
should have left him behind.
Blockbusters, yeah, I think that was the mistake. No, I will admit, I think that was their big mistake, was bringing them back together. That was like, they should have, gone their separate ways in season 2 and let Mando go solo in season 3, do a new arc.
Well, spoilers for Mandalorian. I don't think people really care anymore.
Well, I would like to, if this is spoilers for season 3.
No. I mean, we were kind of just saying like
season 2 stuff, and
which I'm sure is fine, but oh well. Sorry if we
spoiler warning
spoiled.
for Mandalorian season 2 end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my tangent of Star Wars.
Star Wars, good. Blockbusters, maybe getting less of them. And that could probably be a good thing.
It could be.
Can also be a little sad. I think that's what we decided. But people need to be going to theaters more. Because that's how we keep... it starts with us, guys.
Shrek 2 went back to the theaters if you want to go see
so
Shrek 2.
many films are back in theaters. And I think, I mean, it shows you, I think, because it's like, I think people just want to see their favorite... They showed all the Spider-Mans back in theaters. Ghibli Fest is going on. I mean, that's every year, and that's been going on for years.
Star Wars has had their return with some of them.
Oh, yeah, they just did the episode 1 re-release.
Episode 1 in specific. It was episode 1, 4, and 7, I think, all spread across multiple different AMCs. I know AMCs aren't all across the country, but our audience is more localized. So
Ghibli Fest was really good. It's been really good. I saw Castle in the Sky on Monday.
Nice.
Really good.
Good.
Y'all should go. Well, it'll be gone by the time this comes out. But y'all should go see it if you have Max. It's really good. I felt it was like a Spielbergian almost. If that's an adjective. Is that right? Spielbergian?
It is now.
I'm coining that. Spielbergian. The characters, let me start over with this definition. Spielbergian. Adjective. The characteristics of the stereotypes of Spielberg films. That was bad, but I think you get it. I think you got it. All right. I think we should move on before I dig myself into a bigger hole. What's next?
Okay, now we have our famous clue game.
The clue game. We love the clue game.
Back to the basics.
Back to basics. Back to a classic for y'all. So, if y'all know the clue game, 3 clues of increasing from super obscure to super obvious. Person tries to guess the clue. What's the clue asking about? The other person asking has to guess how many clues it will take for the other person. Jackson, I think you won't get it till 3. I'm going to be honest. But you do know this person.
Okay.
All right.
Are you sure?
Oh, yeah.
Because you said that before.
I will leave the room if you're like, who is this? Trust me. And you will know who this is. All right. This actor's early films included The Outsiders as Steve and Legend as Jack.
I think I might guess.
Are you going to just go for it?
Steve. Is it Tom Cruise?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Walker. That was really easy. Even I knew it. I was
Really?
like, once you said Steve from The Outsiders, I
so
knew
here's
it was
the thing.
Tom Cruise.
I'm not a big, I've never seen Outsiders.
I wasn't a huge fan of it.
I know
it in
a lot.
grade.
Yeah, but I feel like every guy I know in my age group has seen or read it. And I'm like, really? I'm like, I've never seen it or read it. And I've heard it's really good. I'm not digging it, but my other clue was Les Grossman and Tropic Thunder, and then Maverick. I didn't think you couldn't have gotten. Should I flipped the Les Grossman?
Yeah,
you think?
because I had no idea what that is.
He wore big hands and a ball cap for his role as Les Grossman and Tropic Thunder.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
My clues.
Dang it! That's like the worst guess, like botch.
I think that's the worst. Okay. So this is not an actor. This is not a character.
Ooh.
This is not a book. This is not a game. This is not a movie.
It's a tech thing, isn't
This
it?
is not a TV show. This is a music piece.
Ooh, okay. So what you guys?
Filling in the music logo in our logo.
I think we've done we said music. We've done one thing. We did the Beatles thing once,
which was.
We've done all of these except that one. Yeah. We're filling in it. All right. I'll do it though. I'll do it. How much? What do you think? What? Well, you got to guess.
Third.
Third. Okay.
You actually might not get it.
Not a lot of faith.
This is an orchestra piece that has multiple parts based. Each part is based on something you see almost daily.
I feel like
Kieran
I
knows
don't
it.
see the planets daily, so I'm gonna have to pass.
A lot of modern cinematic music is based off of these pieces.
Oh, is it? It's not arias. It's not what arias are for. Not. I mean, maybe a term for classical term. This is Jackson flexing his music theory knowledge.
No.
Just pass.
You're going to be mad
wait,
at me
time,
about this
time,
clue.
time. Hold on. I think we have a camera issue.
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
Oh, your storage is full.
No.
Well. Give us a second, guys. I think I'm going to leave this entire part in here because I think it's fun.
I feel like I could
We
get
gotta
it.
check where it ended because they may have lost a ton of that. How fast did you catch? Did it like just cut when?
Yeah, it had just cut.
Okay.
Because I saw it pop up. But I feel like I've known both the years from the first guess.
Yeah.
Okay, guys.
Okay.
Technical camera
I'm
difficulties. Kieran lost a camera. We got to go back and frame.
Or actually, we lost a camera. We stole Kieran's
we lost camera. We stole Kieran's. It's a whole thing. Sorry about that awkward cut.
No, I think
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep all of that in because it'd be kind of funny.
It'd be funny. Yeah, this one just cuts out and you just see us move
It's like,
Kieran's camera.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry for the... What would it
Sorry
be
for the
called?
interruption.
Motion sickness warning.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
You're
Back
gonna be
third
really
clue.
mad at me,
Okay.
or you're gonna be mad at yourself as well because you might have not heard something part of the first clue. They are based on the celestial objects in our solar system.
The planets.
Yeah.
Dang
I
it.
said.
Do you know who it's by?
Yeah.
It's not Vivaldi.
Nope.
It's see, this is I do Quiz Bowl and like this comes up, which is like a trivia competition that's like high school collegiate
Going
stuff.
on
I should know.
Nationals this week.
I am going to nationals, but I should know like who this is because of that because this comes up a lot and it's who is it?
Gustav Holst.
Holst. That's right. I'm not the classical music. There's another guy in
But
our team that's classical
You
music.
had missed the part where it says has multiple parts based on something you see almost daily.
Almost daily because I was like, well, you can't see the planets every night. Sometimes you can't see them.
Yeah.
Isn't there like
Usually you can.
isn't there something
Not all of them,
happening
though.
soon?
Yeah, there's a planet parade.
Planet Parade. Yeah.
However, in America, it will be daytime when that happens. Yes.
Curse us having.
So, if you don't know a planet parade, we should add astronomy to one of our topics because that is something I'm very. Both Kieran and I are.
Maybe
both
we could do a
intrigued about.
side, like a side channel.
Yeah,
on astronomy that you and Kieran
not a
can
whole
run.
channel, but anyways,
A side
so
video
a
series.
planet parade is where you. It's not actually the planets lining up because then we wouldn't be able to see them, but it's from our perspective the planets line up to where you can see a lot of them in a line in the sky. And this one you will be able to see 6 out of the 8 planets in our solar system, which actually.
That's 3 out of 4 of them.
You know, there might be a 9th planet that we're trying to figure out in our solar system.
Wait, one past Pluto?
Oh, there's multiple past Pluto. There's probably thousands in our
Boy,
solar
I thought
system.
Pluto was the end.
No.
Of the oh, really?
Pluto's a dwarf planet, and we had it classified as a dwarf planet because we kept finding more planets after
Oh.
Pluto. And so, like, there's 3 classifications. I don't want to get into those. And then there's another one past Pluto that we've seen, and another one past that one that we've seen. And then we think there's a 9th one that would classify as an actual planet.
Wait, can the web
past
not
that
see
one.
past Pluto?
It can. It's the problem with the light.
Oh,
You know,
okay. That's
you have to
because
get
the
it-
farther you get from the sun
Yeah, you
and
can't.
other stars.
It's not
yeah.
reflecting enough,
Yeah.
and we actually think that there's potential to be thousands of objects floating in our, like thousands of like almost either planets
I
or
didn't think
dwarf
about
planets
that.
around
Like
in
the,
our solar
the only
system.
reason we can like our observable solar system goes out that far is because the sun can only
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
illuminate that much. But it's probably just because it's dark.
Obviously,
I didn't
that's
think about
not
that.
habitable at all.
Yeah,
because it's way
obviously.
too far.
But like that's cool to
Unless
think
there's
about.
another somehow we haven't seen a gas giant out there, because there are moons of Jupiter and Saturn that technically
Yeah.
could be habitable just because they're outside of the habitable zone, but the gravity of Saturn and Jupiter is so strong that they're pulling and contracting the planets a lot,
Yeah.
causing friction in its core, heating it up to
To
the
quote
surface.
the great Markiplier when he was playing a space game, "Whoa, that's so cool." my computer can't handle the rendering.
And a little bit of info about the Parade of Planets. You are, at least if you live in the United States, you are able to see it, but it's your best chance will be in New York State on the mornings of June 3rd to June 5th, just before sunrise, around 5:30 a.m.
It's a little
America gets stuck with the weirdest places for like cool astronomical. Like it's like you can see this, but you got to be in like Maine or New Mexico.
Let me give you a Neil deGrasse Tyson response to that.
What?
The universe doesn't care about us.
Fair enough.
You know, it's not based on the location of us. Like if an asteroid hit the Earth, it has the same probability as hitting one location compared to the other. I wouldn't say like obviously it has a greater probability of hitting the ocean than it does land because there's more ocean than land. But you know.
No, yeah, I know. I'm not getting mad at space, but it's just it can be frustrating sometimes. The randomness. Anyway,
that was a very Neil deGrasse Tyson answer, wouldn't you say?
Yes. The only thing is you didn't talk long enough.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyways, he likes to over-explain.
I was just saying. I was just saying
see.
that one phrase. The universe doesn't care about us. That is something he says.
Anyway.
a lot.
Anyways, moving on to our. Oh,
Next topic. No. I'm
Okay.
just reacting.
What's our
Moving
next
on to our last topic. Still space themed. So that was a really good segue.
Look at that. Segues. Just
We
Segue.
are
Yes.
reviewing the movie Dune 2. And before y'all get to that,
Yes,
I'm
I
going
needed a
to
pronunciation of his
try my best pronunciation
Dennis.
of this guy. So let me walk you through my chain of reasoning, right? So I looked it up. He's Canadian, but his name looks very French. So I think he's Quebec Canadian.
Quebecian.
From Red Dead Redemption 2, his name is spelled Denis, like Saint Denis in Red Dead Redemption 2.
No,
so
it's
I think
Denis.
it's
Yeah, it is
pronounced
Denis.
It is.
Denis.
As for his last name, I think it's Villeneuve. So I think it's Denis Villeneuve.
Did you look up the pronunciation like phrasing?
No, that's just my guess.
All right,
I don't know.
Denis Villeneuve. If this is totally wrong how I'm pronouncing your name, because I can never remember and it always confuses me. But I don't just want to say the filmmaker because I want to give you the credit that's deserved because I'm going to sing high praises for this film. So Denis Villeneuve, I know you're not watching this. In the small, this tiniest 0.0001% chance that you come across this. I'm sorry that I'm pronouncing your name wrong if I am. Denis, what did we decide? I'm already forgetting it. Villeneuve with
He probably wouldn't care. It's probably
But
the fanboy.
I do have one thing to say. I think you should call him Dune Guy because it sounds
Dune
really
Guy.
close
Let's
to
just
Dune
do that.
Guy,
Like,
and
he
I think
also
that's
has done
cool.
really good other pieces.
Yes, I don't want to call
other movies.
I like Dune
Like,
Guy. I'm just gonna say
That's and that also sounds
Denis.
like close to Doom Guy.
That's what I was saying.
Oh yeah, I'll just say Denis. We're on a first name basis
first
here
name.
at Heard About It.
Mr. Denis,
Mr. Denis,
Director Denis.
Director Denis, Mr. Director Denis.
So let's hop
let's
into
just
this
give
review.
let's just give him a round of applause for this one,
okay.
shall we? That's what I think we should do on this podcast now.
Yeah.
If we like a movie, we
Round
just
of
give
applause.
the
And if we don't, boo.
boo. But no, we're not booing. This was a fantastic sequel.
We are going to try to refrain from spoilers.
We're gonna try to keep it as spoiler free. We're gonna try
I know
to
a lot of you have seen it, but Kieran has not seen it
Kieran has not seen it, and we want to.
So-
He said it's fine, but we don't want him to get spoiled. So we're going to talk about
because of how good it is.
stuff that's like in the trailers. Basically, we'll keep it to like.
I
what
didn't.
they would
Well,
show.
I never watched the part 2
you like-
trailer.
do you like to keep blind?
Well, I never watched the part 1 movie until the week before I was going to see part 2, and I didn't want to watch the part 2 trailer because I hadn't seen part 1. So
That's fair. That's fair. I will say my one regret watching Dune 2 was not rewatching Dune 1. Close to.
because it was my first time watching both of them, and they were back to back within the same week. So
Did it make sense?
It made
that
so
was good,
much
yeah.
sense for me.
But it was
so
like I think
easy.
the last time I'd seen Dune was like
2020.
forever ago. I had seen it maybe 2021, like the year
Okay.
after. So, and I got it, but
Which-
there was definitely a lot I was like,
If you don't know, Dune Part 2 is now on HBO Max.
oh, it did just come to Max.
Today,
that is true.
Today, as of recording, it'll be
I
out
thought it was
for
yesterday.
Maybe it was yesterday.
I think it was
but
yesterday.
It's been
as
out
of
for a while
recording.
since this episode
Yes,
came out.
you should go see it if you haven't seen it yet, and you've seen. But if you haven't seen 2, watch 1 because you definitely need to
Kieran,
see
do you
1.
have HBO Max?
I don't.
I'll have to get you over here to watch.
No, it's called Max.
We'll do. Sorry,
Max.
I've discussed my anger with.
Did you see what Conan O'Brien said about
What
the
did he
name
say?
change? I'll show. We don't have to get into it. It was on his Hot Ones interview. He kind of went on a rant about the Max name.
But yeah, I'll have to have you over and we can watch 5 hours back to back of part 1 and part 2.
Oh, that's always fun.
You can join.
So
have a Heart About It watching party live. Pirate the movie technically. Or maybe it's just a camera on us of us just reacting.
Whoa, worm. No. I'm going to give Mr. Denis, director man, his credit though, because it was a great sequel. And I think I felt that Dune 2 was better than Dune 1.
I thought so too.
And here is why. When you're doing a film, especially when you're doing a film like Dune, you have to get the audience. Part of your job when you're doing that first movie is getting your audience to buy into the world. Not necessarily explain the world, because I think Dune does that good job of, hey, this is the world that you exist in. We're not going to do a lot of like explainy, expository dialogue. I actually felt there was more explainy dialogue in 2 than there was in 1. They explained more, but you have to still get the audience to buy into the world. Yes. And so you have to do some stuff that sometimes doesn't always service the film. He did a good, I'm not digging Dune because it did a good job of getting the audience to buy into the film while still making a good film. With Dune 2, Denis did not have that pressure. He had an audience. Look, people like this film series. They've bought into it, and so he was able to just do, I feel like, everything he wanted and needed to do for that film to work, and it worked so well.
Yeah, I was watching a video on the making of it. I think it was about the music, but they had also mentioned up the costumes because Denis had showed up in the video, and he was talking about how much easier this one was because everybody was on the same page with the costumes because they had already done part 1.
Oh yeah,
and so like he didn't have to go and nitpick every single thing about each individual.
He had
part.
Established his vision,
and people could follow the lines of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think about that. I'm sure that's way easier to do.
It was probably a lot easier for him to focus on the more important parts of the movie making versus like the parts where he doesn't have to have his hand in the entire time because he has people that he can trust that have been a part of the team in the first movie. He didn't have
to keep going, no, we need to do it this way a ton and had to go. That also I think goes to it. But it was just really solid. I will say I think the one benefit, it moved I think a lot faster than the other one. There was a lot more plot happening.
Which also could be due to the book. I haven't read the book, but I assume that's
and I'm sure. And I'm kind of glad because when I saw Dune 1, I wanted it to end 60 minutes, like 30 minutes earlier and have the end kind of Dune 1 be the beginning of Dune 2. After, I think, watching Dune 2, I think he made the good decision to open it where it did. I thought it was really cool. I'm glad we got more detail about the Fremen culture. I like that it shifted over to that because I think that is more, I think they're a way more interesting group than the Atreides. Not that the Atreides were cool, but
it makes sense because we were supposed to think of them as more like mysterious kind of beings that we couldn't really know a lot about because the main characters hadn't really
interacted. But it was kind of cool to see kind of like the Fremen kind of become the main characters of the second film.
And in the first film, you could see Paul's visions and stuff, and it was really cool to see, like,
and kind of see that kind of coming
act out in the second part. So.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you, I gotta give credit to Austin Butler in this film.
Oh, he did such a good job.
Knocked it out of the park. And I keep saying to everyone, it's gonna be so funny if he did all that work for Elvis. All that Oscar work in an attempt to try to get the Oscar for Elvis, and like he just kind of goes off and does this Dune role. And I'm not trying to say like I'm sure he did a ton of work to do that Dune role because it was really good. But like I feel like those are very two different projects for him. And if he wins like Best Supporting for I should remember his name, Smoke Alarm.
Smoke alarm beep.
Smoke alarm beep. But no, Austin Butler's character as the we should remember these names. White bald guy.
Yeah.
And not like race, like actually, well,
the reason that's because they filmed that entire planet in infrared, and they had to add the color themselves because we can't see infrared.
Yeah, that was I will say, I think that was one of the cooler scenes I've seen in cinema where Did he filmed it in that weird black and white kind of shading?
Yeah.
But it wasn't just to make a cool scene. Like there was an actual.
There was reason for it.
There was like because it was like a black sun.
Yeah.
And so the light, like the lighting on that planet is different.
Which a black sun, back to astronomy, would just be a ball of carbon. There would be no light emitted from it at all. Actually,
but this is Dune.
It is Dune. Very different from real life.
You know, and I find it very interesting. You know, Dune is such a different science fiction film, I think, from the others that we normally see, like a Star Wars. You know, has very different themes, has very different messaging. I feel like
people have compared it to, if you take Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and mix them together, which I disagree with, because it's kind of like, I think they're just taking that Lord of the Rings is a lot slower. Yeah. And they're just like saying, hey, add the slowness of Lord of the Rings into Star Wars, but Star Wars is so vastly different.
If anything, it's more like Game of Thrones meets Star Wars. Like it's that more political, more
also
kind of like,
if you're a Star Wars fanboy and you think, oh, Dune was just copying Star Wars, Dune had come out a decade before Star Wars ever did in its book form. So don't you be saying.
And actually, whoever is saying like that mix up, Tolkien actually had gone on record saying he did not like Dune.
Oh,
you know, like he had, you know, he was alive when the books were coming out and was not a fan of kind of, you know, because, and I think that's very. Lord of the Rings and Star Wars actually, I think, have more in similar with each other than Dune.
Dune has.
Because Star Wars and Lord of the Rings are very obsessed with good and evil. There's very clear in Star Wars there are good characters and there are good and there are villains. There are good characters and bad characters, and there's good and evil, and good characters can switch sides and they can choose. But there's two camps, and you have to be in either camp. And that's true in Lord of the Rings, I think, too. Sauron, evil. Gandalf and the Fellowship, good. And if they're doing bad things, it's because they're being corrupted by evil. Nothing like it is because of evil that they are doing bad things.
Yes.
Dune has a very different, more nuanced message where it's more about power and more about like the good about characters and flaws. I think it makes for a more interesting, more intriguing plot. But I mean, I shouldn't say more intriguing. It's a different style of storytelling, having these different characters, you know, and like they're trying to fight fate and they can't, even though the fate's not even real. It's just kind of like a way to control them, but it's ended up being like their path to freedom. So it's a very interesting, Frank Herbert, right? That's the author's name.
Sure.
I think.
Sure.
I'm getting his name wrong too, but and their vision of kind of this more complex, you know, more political. There's not really sides, you know. There's not. I mean, there's sides, but there's not really like someone to root for and someone to go against.
Yeah.
You know, it's more realistic to the real world, where people are more complex and complicated, and it makes for a more interesting film and keeps a film like Dune, which has these like very otherworldly shots, pretty grounded.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part about the movie, Walker?
I mean, the Austin Butler fight scene is definitely up there for me. That first scene he's in, I think, I don't know, that climactic, trying to keep it as vague as possible, that kind of big fight scene towards the end, because I saw it in IMAX, and just the sound in that theater. I mean, that's going back to kind of the Blockbuster. That was a movie to see in theaters just because of the sound design and the visuals.
Very much so.
That was a movie to see.
It was 35 millimeter though.
Yeah, he didn't do it 70 millimeter, but no. Really good film and really good job of doing a big kind of budget spectacle blockbuster film and still maintaining and still reminding us, hey, this is a story about characters and their struggles and how their struggles reflect on the larger world around them.
Which I think, going back to the Blockbuster thing, what did we call him? What was his name? The director of Dune.
Denis, director man.
Denis is another guy you can trust at the Blockbuster.
Yes, that guy hopefully will do other stuff after Dune.
Yes, I really hope so. He's done some other good stuff in the past. What else has he done?
I'm trying to. Can you pull up those other films?
I just remember there being good movies, and I've also seen Christopher Nolan go on record say that he thinks he could never do Dune
Oh, Nolan?
Yeah,
thinks that
Nolan
he
thinks
could
he
do-
couldn't do it. He thinks that for Denis to go out and do this, he's actually insane. But
Oh, really?
he loves, like, he's talked with him before.
Oh, I
So
mean,
they're
Dune
good
was
friends.
considered the unadaptable, especially after the 80s film.
Yes, yeah.
He tried to, and so for him to bring that vision, it's one of those things where, technology finally caught up. Like with the Lord of the Rings films in the 2000s, they finally were like, okay, I think we have the ability to do this properly.
Yeah.
Kier, did you have the...
Yeah, some of his movies include Blade Runner 2049,
That's
Arrival,
the big one.
Sicario,
Yeah.
Arrival.
Enemy. He has a few others.
I've heard the Blade Runner sequel was really good.
I did
he
hear
did
that
it.
was good. Yeah.
But no, yeah. If Nolan were to do one more kind of franchise pre-established world or character like he did with The Dark Knight, what would you want to see?
Ooh. That's a tough question.
Yeah. I honestly think, he would never do it, but a Last Ronin movie would be really interesting.
That would be interesting.
Maybe I was thinking is there like a video game franchise that he'd
That's
do?
what I'm trying to think.
Oh, if Remedy were ever to do one of their games,
he would
like if
totally-
I don't think maybe as much Alan Wake, but if they ever did a Control
Control
movie,
would be awesome.
he would crush.
They already have the big blah and
in the game.
large texts
Like
as well.
that's Nolan in a nutshell.
That's yeah.
Jackson, I want your opinion.
Yeah.
Do you think Christopher Nolan is past his prime?
Oh
No.
no.
I think he has a lot of I think he has a lot more movies that he's very excited to work on. I think that's all. We had talked about it before, but you have like somebody like Tarantino where he says he's only going to do 10 movies because he believes past 10 movies he would kind of fall off.
I think truly good directors like, Scorsese and Nolan don't have primes.
Yeah.
I think they're just consistent and they make like when you're talking about best directors ever, like your Spielbergs and your I don't think they have primes. I just think they just make really good movies their entire careers.
And some are better than
And I think some are better than others. And, and I think sometimes they get tied to a decade that ends up defining them and becomes what is considered their prime. But I think when you look at a lot of filmmakers, I don't think they have a prime.
Well,
I think they just make good
the
films.
thing with Nolan, just for me, is I recently watched Tenet, and I'm gonna be honest, I did not like that movie at all. And coming from a guy who made
a lot of people like that.
Interstellar, it was hard to believe that this was the same.
But then
director.
you go Interstellar, okay, really, really good. Tenet, not that good. And then Oppenheimer sweeps the Oscars. So that's my point. I think a lot of people, I don't think Nolan has a prime. I just think he makes movies and sometimes they're really, really good and sometimes they're not as good, but there's a consistency. And I think he's just going to maintain that consistency.
Which you have to appreciate, like the goal for Tenet at least, right?
See, I don't know if I can because it's just I feel like it's objectively a bad movie.
You just think it's just confusing for confusing's sake, and there's no reason.
And
for
I've heard
it.
a lot of people say, "Oh, just watch it again." A
Just
movie
watch it five
shouldn't
more
have
times.
to be
Yeah.
watched multiple times.
I do agree.
All
with
right,
that
when
one.
people give those excuses, I'm not a huge fan of this one Ghibli film called Howl's Moving Castle. I still like it. It's not one of my favorites. And every time I say it's not my favorite, all the people that read it is like, "Oh, you just have to read the book. Then the movie's great." I'm like, that's not how you should enjoy media. If the movie is getting enjoyed based on me having to read a whole book, that's a flawed movie.
Yes.
But no.
That's kind of what's nice about the Harry Potter movies. You don't have to read the books, but it does help.
It does help.
Honestly,
It does
I would
help.
almost argue that it's better to just watch the movies without reading the books because
then-
there's so many inconsistencies between the two.
That is fair.
Sometimes
that it
they're
would
just
ruin it.
like Lord of the Rings. I feel like
Which we'll see how they
they're
fix
very different works of art. I've heard someone say Lord of the Rings books and movies, they're the same world, but they're very different. Same stories, but they're very different.
Because
works of art.
you have at the end of Return of the King where they burned down the Shire. That's not even.
Oh
in the
yeah,
movie.
there's so many differences, and he the end Return of the King starts at the end of the book Two Towers. So there's a lot of differences there.
Yeah.
But no, it's movies. They're good. That's the thesis, I think, of this
You
episode.
get your thing at 5, right?
I have to go. And so I think we're going to have to call this
here.
episode
A little bit of a shorter episode, but not too much shorter.
But not too much
about
shorter.
50 minutes.
We hope y'all enjoyed the discussions. I know I did. Thank you guys for watching this long and staying with us.
We'll get a live stream up soon, maybe.
Yeah, we're going to try to get some other stuff up. We'll catch y'all on the flippy flop, as I never say. All right. Goodbye.